Welcome to the United States of America podcast, everybody. I am your host, Niti, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here on North Carolina. If you have missed past episodes, please be sure to take the time to watch the first episode and watch the rest like a documentary. We're a people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel, and we are shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we are sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. We have moderators who are assisting in the comment section. Please be kind and self governed, and if you have any questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. So, friends, Anna, she is officially got laryngitis. She says her throat hurts. She's got high fever and her voice is so hoarse it hurts. So let's please, send her as many of our 30 trillion watts each of, life giving force. Focus on her healing and let's get her to feeling back to 100% as soon as possible. I hope everybody out there is doing really well. I am not sure how good my connection is going to stay. I've had internet problems for the last week with all the cold temperatures. I'm really not sure what this cold temperature has very much to do with how the internet is working, but I will say that the freezing temps here on North Carolina have really affected our ability. I mean, our internet. I don't understand what's going on, but we have these blotches. So hopefully we will be able to make it through and won't have a lot of problems with that. I wanted today to really go over one of Anna's latest articles. It's something really interesting for us all to think about, and I'm not sure, how much thought you guys have actually put to this, but I thought it was well worth going over and reading with everybody here today, and sharing some of Anna's words while she is unable to right now, and we can be her voice for her, right? So she wrote this article about the international. I mean, her latest international public notice is what Federal Reserve. The petrodollar is dead. The BRIC silver dollar settlement system is official. So everyone will be able to settle payments in precious metal backed currencies, traditional national currencies. The BRICS move at their recent summit in Kazan, Russia, signals a return of half the world's population to a traditional monetary system. The BRICS nations are doing this even though they already know the extreme difficulties posed by an inelastic monetary system. They're willing to accept those difficulties in preference to the arbitrary corruption and punitive capricious of the SWIFT system and Federal Reserve. The EU seizure of 130 billion worth of Russian capital investment as sanctions may have been the final symbolic straw. Everyone is sick of the US Corp and the EU imposing sanctions, arbitrary thefts based on political motives, and will no longer trust their future and ability to conduct business to Brussels and DC. The temporary relaxation of tension provided by naming a new and hopefully better Federal Reserve chairman won't really change the trajectory away from the whole Federal Reserve system. Along with the paper dollar hegemony, you can kiss goodbye to the European Union and the United Nations in their present forms. Let's please pause a moment and reflect that the Federal Reserve System and the SWIFT transfer monopoly are not and never were American. The Federal Reserve contracted with the British territorial U.S. Congress to provide its services, and it is itself a consortium of private banks that is otherwise not affiliated with anything federal at all. We like to say that it is as federal as Federal Express. Read that. One of our federal service providers, a foreign vendor, a subcontractor of ours, cut a deal with a private bank consortium, and both have operated under color, pretending to be American when they really aren't. There are some American banks involved in the consortium, but that doesn't make it American. Together, this miscreants forced the Federal Reserve notes on us and forced us to trade in our silver dollars for their federal IOUs using legal tender laws and one-to-one exchange rate published as part of the 1933 Emergency Banking Act. Of course, this was illegal, and they had to promise mutual offset credit exchange exemptions in order to legalize it, but they never actually set up and provided access to a Mochi program to provide the remedy to Americans. So it all remains illegal to this day. We are used as the storefront for their operations. Soon, people and nations will no longer be forced to trade their traditional national currencies for paper dollars and then use these pieces of paper to settle payments for goods and services. Transactions will be direct, silver kroner to gold yuan, with no need to first translate into USD and then complete the transaction in USD and then again exchange the USD back for kroner and yuan. So the paper dollar and its swift transfer monopoly acted as a middleman, nudging their way into every transaction and acting as a bottleneck in a silent comptroller of the world financial and economic systems. Everyone had to buy these paper dollars in order to conduct business, and everyone had to give up their gold and silver national currencies to buy these paper dollars, or they couldn't buy oil. This unearned middleman position allowed the U.S. Corp and the U.S.A. Corporation to play crack the whip with every other economy in the world and created a great artificial demand for U.S. currency. The BRIC silver settlement will gradually put an end to this artificial demand, and the fiat currency will flood the market as country after country dumps its paper dollar reserves, simply because they won't need them to conduct business anymore. Americans are not necessarily aware of how this worked, nor the greenbacks 1040 bond swindle that gave rise to it. But Americans were strong-armed and cheated like everyone else, as noted above, like being forced to give up their silver dollars in inequitable exchange for federal IOUs and mutual offset credit exchange exemptions that never actually got organized or delivered to the public. The Kazan Initiative is nothing new in the history of the world. Gold has always been traditional international currency, while silver currencies have been the status quo for domestic and routine commercial transactions for thousands of years before this. We actual Americans have always had gold eagles and silver dollars, not paper dollars, as our official national currency. So it's no skin off our noses. And the increased use and demand for gold and silver currencies will skyrocket the value of our holdings of precious metals and our national currencies, along with everything else. That said, we wish to sound a warning. The reason that the crazy paper dollar system was adopted in the first place is that there isn't a sufficient amount, sufficient supply of gold or silver to meet the currency demand posed by 8 billion people and millions of active commercial corporations. Gold and silver-based monetary systems are inelastic, which leads to a craziness of its own. Imagine a little gold coin purportedly being worth $2 million. That's a structural lie in its own right, a figment of value created by the limited supply parameters of silver and gold commodities poised against the unlimited demand pressure of the world economy. Well, the same problem applies to all physical commodity-based monetary systems. Even if you set up a basket of commodities to back a currency, The fundamental inelasticity and limited supply of the chosen commodities relative to the need for a medium exchange would cause the same problem. Even the paper money system was straining to keep up. That's why all the banks have been relentlessly pushing for digital currencies. Put simply, the banks are running out of products to sell. Money based on precious metals is inelastic. Even as BRICS steps into this familiar slippery slope, they are at a 1-to-8 demand ratio. Financial instruments representing monetized physical and non-physical assets of all kinds are relatively elastic and support a much larger world economy, but they are finite too. The whole world is posed on the knife edge of this dilemma, a choice between hyperinflation of fiat currencies or hyperdeflation of the precious metals based currencies. And nobody outside top banks and think tanks seem to realize that neither of these systems is going to work. The bankers who often believe their own lies have been obsessing about this dilemma, caught between hyperinflation and hyperdeflation. And all they could come up with was there's too many people. There is no form of money that people will believe in and that we can provide enough of if we cut the population in half. Maybe, or cut it by 2/3, or could come up with some kind of sustainable banking system. The banks literally can't meet the demand of a world economy with 8 billion people and millions of corporations without lapsing into craziness of the Dutch tulip mania kind. They know this. So their solution was to kill billions of innocents. It won't take long for people to look at a little 1/10 ounce gold coin and conclude that, nah, it isn't worth $2 million. Just like they are now looking at pieces of paper representing government debt and realizing that they are the government. The answer, the only practical answer, is to exercise the prepaid credit owed to the living people to extract and replace the debt notes owed by the corporate persons and the corporations. The prepaid credit ledger opens up a logical and honest means to erase national debts and open a stored credit source that can tide people over the transition to a new concept of money. It's easy to convince everyone that they're owed prepaid credit because they can observe transactions using debt note currencies and come to this conclusion for themselves. So, prepaid credit is a financial product that people can believe in, and it will solve the hyperinflation problem by removing large quantities of debt notes from circulation, assuming that Obama's counterfeiting operation and all the offshore printing presses can be shut down. The old precious metals monetary system can be used to meet part of the world currency demands and can take part of the pressure off without sagging into valuation insanity. So long as the financial system is brought back online and under control using the prepaid credit option that is available to the land jurisdiction governments. We have the means to survive without hyperinflation or hyperdeflation, either one. But this brings forward an even more important topic. Money, like religion, requires belief. And that should startle everyone reading this. If you don't believe in money, no matter what form it takes or what rationale is applied to it, it vanishes like smoke, dissipating into the air. Suddenly, you look around and ask, what made gold so valuable? The answer would be your belief that it was so valuable. It is the same way with all forms of money, all forms of currency. Once you realize this, you also realize the medium of exchange is arbitrary. It doesn't matter if you use metal or plastic or glass, beads or digits in a bank ledger. It's your belief that these metal discs or plastic cards or glass beads or numbers on a ledger represent the value of something else that underlies both the monetary and the financial systems of the world. A little more thought brings you to the conclusion that all forms of money, all forms of financial instruments, all currencies, they're all bogus. They all represent the same kind of unnecessary and arbitrary middleman as paper dollars in the petrodollar system. You are translating strawberries into Federal Reserve notes or silver dollars, and then retranslating Federal Reserve notes or silver dollars into beans. So what? To make it worse, you are multiplying all the various kinds of gold and silver currencies and all the financial instrument currencies and multiplying the number of these translations exponentially. All of this is centering around one other unheralded concept: payment. And payment is what? Reward. Stand back and look at it the way I, the fiduciary, look at it. Mankind has unwittingly subjected itself to a behavioral modification program in which payment in the form of money is the reward for performance or of labor or production of a commodity. People have been trained just like Pavlov's dog or a mouse in a maze. All this arguing about the value of a ruble versus the value of a dollar, plastic versus metal, paper versus metal, paper versus digits on a spreadsheet. Like, all of this is insane. Value, true value, has nothing to do with money. Just like the rewards that shower down on us as payment have nothing to do with money or the form that money takes. The belief in money stands in the way of both payment and reward. It is an obstacle, not a facilitator of trade. Money, in whatever form, is an extra product added to every natural trade transaction, a product that is used as an encumbrance that cripples millions of people and disproportionately rewards evil and cynical men who set themselves up as the producers and controllers of this thoroughly artificial commodity. Is money a necessity? No, it's only your belief in it that makes it necessary. Are we reduced to a barter system without money? Not necessarily. We have the creativity to come up with other answers. We simply got sidetracked and indoctrinated and stopped looking for other answers. The behavioral modification protocol clamped down on us even as small children, and we literally learned to equate money with reward. It is that unconscious, unexamined belief that money is the equivalent of reward that keeps us seeking money and keeps us enslaved to the extra job of earning enough money. The shell game nature of this self-serving deception and manipulation should be apparent to anyone who stops to think about it for more than a fleeting moment. It's not a matter of which money is good and which money is bad. The entire concept of money is built on a delusion induced by behavioral modification, like patterning. Once everyone realizes that money is a false paradigm, the search for truth becomes inevitable. We have found means to transition everyone and float the boat, but ultimately, the entire concept of money is the problem to be faced. Notice to principles is notice to agents. Notice to agents is notice to principles. So, this is going to become a problem, especially if everybody has an, never-ending pile of money, right? What would be the motivation for anyone to do anything for anyone else if everybody has all the money in the world? Kind of goes back to that, right? So the only reason that any of us do anything for anybody is because we have to care. And we can't care about people if we're so busy working to get the money. And so you have everybody on this like hamster wheel, and they're just working to get the money, working to get the money, working to get the money. So much so that nobody has time to just chill and like know what they want. What do you want? You know, Anna's always saying, "What do you want? What do you want?" And most people are like, I just want a day off. I want the weekend to be longer. I want the banks to open." But okay, let's just, the bank opens and then what? You know, once you do the Jubilee, once everybody is even, right? Then, yeah, Deborah, you get bored, right? Like people need to have time to get bored. And then what's going to happen after you're so bored? You're going to start getting hungry. then you're going to start, eating, and then you're going to start running out of things to eat. And then you're going to go, "Oh, wait, I got to also do something about that," right? And then it just becomes really simple. I just need enough to eat for tomorrow. But then you might get more bored, and then you might want to go do something. And so then you want to start, wandering around and getting to see what other people are doing. And I mean, what, like that's going to be a lot of fun. It'll become fun, right? Because if everybody has all the money and and we make it so that there's nobody who doesn't have any of the money, you know, then we finally have time to be who we are, which is the creator. We get to finally chill, look around, think about what we want, and see about how we're going to create it. And it's going to be really cool to see who creates what. And then you're going to be creating stuff, and then somebody else is going to be like, "Ooh, what you're doing over there is so cool. Oh, and then they're going to want what you have or what you created. And you might want what somebody else created. I mean, do you want to call that barter? Maybe. Or maybe you're custom making things for people around you that, something that only you know how to do just because you want to bring joy into that man or woman's life. That'll be fun, right? But we could even do that now. You could just do that as soon as right now. We can't make physical quantum leaps, but we sure can make a mental quantum leap. Maybe we should all work on that. Right? I don't know. I think it would be a good idea. I hope that you guys think so. I really wanted to share that article with everybody because it makes you have to think about something else. Like, what are you going to do? What would you want to do? I think it's going to be really cool to see what kind of things people come up with. We need to start thinking about it right now because it's not going to be too far away from us that we have to be able to start exercising that in some way. I know a lot of people that are like, "Ooh, I'm just going to, grow some food and whatever." I think a lot of people are going to take a minute and they're going to take a second because they're going to need to detox from the, interference that wasn't allowing them the opportunity and the time to think. But man, it's going to be really cool to see what people come up with on the other side of that. And I think it's just going to be beautiful. It's going to be a really, really beautiful world. A beautiful new earth, right? Anyway, I just wanted to say that, and I hope everyone will take some time and focus, and send Anna some healing energy. Let's send her some love and some light. If you have some shekels you can throw her way, that'll be amazing. I know that she's, keeping the fight up, and she's been working on all the things that have to be done no matter what. It's really difficult for her ever to just be like, oh gosh, okay, officially I'm sick. We need to let her rest. So think about all of that, guys. And then I will see you back here next week. All right. I hope everybody has a fantastic end of the week. I'm glad that I was able to hold the internet long enough for this stream. And I will look, for whoever wants to join me. Oh, we're not doing the Saturday Zoom call because we're going to be meeting in the flesh here at the food church. So I will see everybody the following Saturday on for that Zoom call. But I think me and the girls will see you guys next Tuesday for Exit Stage Left. Okay? I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.